Hello, I am Basil Butcher Jr. I am a neuroathletic coach. I specialize in helping athletes return from injury to the playing field and enhancing their performance using applied neurology, movement conditioning. And so today I'm going to be doing a short presentation about a conditioning approach for the cricket athlete. You will notice some new different things that will come up in this that is not traditionally in the strength and conditioning community, because this is looking at conditioning through a neural lens. So let me start by sharing my screen. Okay. All right. So here we go. Conditioned approach for the cricket athlete by Basil Butcher Jr. The characteristics to be trained here are strength, suppleness, stamina, speed, and spirit. This comes from, these characteristics are built out from a, a athlete development model called the 9S development model that was developed by Z Health. And so each one of these are part of the pillars that you go into when you're going to talk about developing a athlete. And these are the areas where a conditioning coach, that would be a conditioning coach's domain. So we're going to go through each one of these one by one. Well, there'll be a combination of stamina and spirit, and you'll see as we go through this. Well, we all know cricket is a sport that has a couple of different roles that are played in it. You have the batters, that they have a specific demands. They have to pick up a ball that's being bowled by the bowler and make a judgment whether to play or not to play, whether to play forward, moving towards the ball, or going backwards because of the length of the ball pitch. Those who are not as familiar with the game may not understand some of these terms. So they have to be making these decisions over and over throughout the time they're out, the duration of their while they're batting. And these movements by the batter are short, explosive movements, but they have to do it over a period of time. So there's an anaerobic and aerobic combination in terms of their energy system, in terms of that. You have the bowlers, you have different categories of bowlers. You have the fast bowlers, which one would can say without contradiction is the hardest working person on a cricket field. The more work, they put in more work than any other role on the field. They exert more energy than any other person on the field. The fast bowlers, they run in from a distance, so they have a run up. Some guys are 15, 20, 25 yards before they get to the place where they're going to bowl the ball. And then you have the spinners, which take shorter run ups, and they don't exert the same energy as a fast bowler, but they also have to exert a modicum of energy. Also, just like batters, these bowlers have to do this over a period of time and have to recover also in between deliveries so they can do it again and again. Then you have the fielders in the infield, fielders in the outer parts of the field. There are different demands for them in terms of movement, and so on. And you also have the wicket keeper, which is someone that that stays in a position for the entire inning, unlike other fielders that move around in different parts and are adjusted. They stay either close to the wicket when it's a spinner bowling, or a little bit further back when somebody's bowling fast. And they're in the match for every single ball while they're out on the field. So that's a little bit about some of the roles in cricket. Now when we're talking about the strength training, we're gonna apply this strength training to where you have this is manifested in applying explosive force in various batting postures, applying explosive force in the bowling action, maintain and generate that explosive force in and out of fielding postures, sprinting strength, the strength that's required to sprint, and throwing strength, the strength that's required to throw a ball far, accurate, consistently. So those are the areas where strength training would be the domain here in this presentation and this approach to conditioning the cricket athlete. Now we're going to start and we're going to look at strength training for batting postures. So you'll see here I have targeted CNS activation, inhibition, external and internal focus exploration. CNS, for those who don't know, that acronym stands for Central Nervous System. So you're seeing right off the bat, we're talking about from a applied neurology perspective here. What this simply means is that in the ways you're going to train the athlete, you're going to have them have an internal and an external focus whenever they're doing a movement pattern or what have you. So you're going back and forth. So you're teaching the nervous system to activate and inhibit as back and forth, which happens when you're out in the field, when you're moving anywhere in sport or in life. There is always this constant activation, inhibition of the nervous system. So we're actually targeting that skill. So it will be you will develop that skill at a high level when you're going to be engaging in movement on the field of the cricket field. So there are 3 postures that are required to be trained in movement, whatever movement activity you're going to be in. These 3 postures are always in constant motion. And because of the information we have now, from research, etc., we now can deliberately train these postures. The first being the voluntary posture. That's the posture where you, as an individual, you're going to make a conscious movement. So that's a voluntary movement. Then you have the anticipatory posture. That's when when you make a movement, you're anticipating certain things will happen, right? When you make that movement. So you're training that. And then you have the reactive posture. That's a posture where it's involuntary. This is reflexive. When you move, your body has to account to get you stabilized, so you're not going to fall over wherever your center of gravity moves, right? And you can upregulate this to all different parts of the body, so when they move, they're not going to be out of position, out of balance. So we know for batting, balance is essential when you execute every stroke that you play, every shot that you make. Balance is of optimal importance. So when we look at training, the voluntary postural training, these are some ideas. This is not it all. These are some of the ideas that movement patterns that we can use and how we can use them to enable this batter to be able to have the strength necessary in all variant postures he or she will engage in as a batter in a cricket match. So we have things like multiple directional lunges, as you know from a batting stance and playing shots, they're basically different lunges that you're making all the time. And you'll train them in isometric holds, um, slow to sports speed, and different foot positions. As you would note, that happens in a batter. And why you do this is because you want to develop endurance and you want to be able to develop the ability to execute this at high speed, and not fall over, and be balanced in doing so, and have the strength required to do it in all different positions, and also do it in variable foot positions. Squat isometrics. We use a squat similarly because there are times where a batter has to go is in a partial squat position in their stance, etc., coming out of their stance, and so on. So again, the same thing applies with the different speeds. You would train it, and also to develop that endurance, strength endurance, so that player can do this over and over throughout their inning in every time they play. And ACM variations. This is the term ACM. It stands for assisted contractile mapping. And what that simply means is that every muscle from attachment to attachment, one wants to develop the ability to contract that muscle fully from attachment to attachment, not having parts of the muscle not engaged in contraction and soft, etc., etc. The more you develop that ability to do so, the stronger you will get. So that's like the building blocks of strength. Just from being able to do that, you'll get strong without even holding the weight in your hand, because now you've developed the skill to be able to contract your muscles from attachment to attachment. And we use these in different variations. Again, the isometric holds to develop that strength. Different types of um, isometrics, yielding, overcoming, long hold, internal. We also do these where you would have a band on the opposite side of the body as you do this, so you're developing what we call reflexive stability. Reflexive stability is the stability, maybe about, it's been, the estimates is around 90% of stability when you move or do anything comes reflexively, where you're not even thinking about it. And that's reflexive stability that you're training to upregulate that. Then you have explosive isometrics. It seems a conundrum in terms, but yes, where you can explode a muscle without actually moving, right? Which is something that happens in sport in between the contractions, and why isometrics are also important, because between the transition between concentric and eccentric contractions is isometrics. And usually that is the point where most players in sport are injured, in that transition phase, right? Where they have to change direction, whatever movement they have to do to go from eccentric to concentric. That's the point where if you don't have that strength, you can injure yourself. So you want to have that smooth transition. That's the rationale for using isometrics, right? And then we, talk about stabilization, ACM using stabilization and perturbation ACMs, right? Perturbation is where you're training, the person is moving and they're getting, like you're tapping them on the shoulder or whatever, so they can maintain their posture, right? Again, you want to have that strength regardless of which way you're going to move, that your system will not cause you to will have the requisite stabilization regardless of what speed or whatever is coming, the way you move, that you're not going to fall over. So you want to develop that stabilization strength. And then, loaded dynamic joint stabilization with bands. That is now what we're talking about there, is being to put all the various joints in the positions that you would get into as a batter, and have the requisite strength in all those joint move, those positions that you're going to move your joint into, that you have the strength throughout the entire range of motion of that joint, of those joints as you move. So we use bands for that, because if you don't have the requisite strength in the entire range of motion of the joint, you either can get injured, or two, not be able to execute the movement pattern as efficiently as would be demanded. So your technique would be compromised if you don't have that ability to do so. So now we move on to the anticipatory posture training. And these are some of the ideas that we would use in training that. Um, Sports, speed, shoulder, and hip movements. So whether it means you're standing on one leg and you're going to be swinging your other leg as fast as possible in all kinds of directions without falling over, or swinging your arms similarly, and so on. These are some of the ideas, right? Sometimes we'd use this if you want to get really high tech. We have these lasers we got attached to either your shoulder or your arm or your hip as you move. So to see if you can maintain that laser, the laser that's fixed to you, that when you swing, you are able to maintain that laser in the same, as precise in the position that the laser was pointing before you move. And when you can develop that skill, your anticipatory posture, your stabilization, your reflexive stabilization is through the roof. Um, Medicine ball catch and throw, same thing. You're throwing a medicine ball, and the anticipation when you catch that ball, you know what could happen in terms of the ball. The ball's going outside your center of gravity, that you have to be able to stabilize yourself or you fall over. And you can throw this ball in all different angles and directions, which is cool. And then we have maximum reaching with targets. This is where you're going to be reaching for targets, using your whole body, right? So again, being able to do that and stay balanced and so on and so forth, is great for a batter, because a batter may have to reach for a ball to play the ball and not fall over, right? So that's where it comes into play. And then plyo steps. Plyo steps is, this is like the first movement. Anyone comes from a static position and then they're going to move forward in any direction. That's the step that they do. So it's important to be able to have that step, be master at it, that your movements, whatever you're going to do moving after that anticipation that you're not going to be falling over or whatever, if you don't know to do that step properly. And then reactive posture training. This is where it's involuntary, it's reflexive. You have no conscious ability to do this. So there are these tools. You stand on a foam pad with a block, like a yoga block or two yoga blocks, that you stand there, and your ankles are moving all over, and you have to keep yourself balanced standing on one leg. That's the first basic thing you'll do, and then add a bunch of different body movements that maybe can be applicable to batting, so the batter would develop that reactive posture when they're batting. Altered vision, similarly, where you compromise vision, because vision is one of the major information centers that send information to the brain as to where you are in space, etc. So if you can enhance that balancing, that posture without seeing as well, that only heightens the other inputs that goes to the brain, so that when you have your full vision, balancing would be so easy. And muscle vibration balancing, that's another tool that we use. You apply vibration with a person standing on their lower legs, and you would see how they start to sway, because now their ankles are not as stable, and so the other parts of their body has to, like their lumbar, their spine has to become stable for the loss of stability at their ankle. So that's another way of tricking the system, to hack the system to enhance reactive posture. So we're going to move on to the next, which is we're looking at strength training for bowling postures. And again, just as I discussed earlier about targeted CNS activation and inhibition, external and internal focus explorations, that goes here also for the same reasons. It's just different postures. And the same thing would apply to the voluntary, anticipatory, and reactive. We'll use some of the same tools and ideas, add some because it's some different postures that bowling postures are than batters, but it's the same idea. Um, like for in the voluntary posture training, we use overhead unilateral movements, overhead pulls, overhead pushes and pulls, wood chops, horizontal and diagonal patterns. And we use these all in an isometric, in a yielding isometric holds, long hold isometric, slow, so you know you're able to move your body through night with understanding every movement that has to happen throughout your body as you execute this. You see those when you move very slow. When you move fast and you skip them, you're not going through them with the right technique. So once you can master that slow, then we take it to sports speed and loaded retro walking, because this is something you would add. This also be used for batters also, but I just added this here. Retro walking means walking backwards, which means you're engaging all the muscles at the back of your body, which are the explosive muscles, right? Um, these are the hamstrings, the glutes, the calves, your lats, all the muscles at your back, and so on, play a role in explosion and posture, etc. And the stronger these are, they're also this is also important. They are important for injury prevention. So that's why you would do that also. I mean, just to give some information regarding retro walking. Retro walking is something that we use in knee rehab. So if we're using a knee rehab to rehab knee injuries, why not use it for performance enhancement and injury prevention? Movement added here for the anticipatory posture training, banded four-way reaching. So now you have a band and you have to reach in all directions with the band, and perturbation with relaxation. This is also applicable to batters as well as bowlers, because here you're going through an explosive movement, and then you have to relax right thereafter, which are the actions that are going on constantly as you're playing cricket. And the same kind of ideas would be used for reactive posture training for bowling postures as we did with batting postures. Strength training for fielding postures. Again, the targeted CNS activation, inhibition, external and internal focus. Um, give you an idea as to what I mean by external and internal focus. Let's say we're doing knee extensions, right? And I want you to focus internally. I could say, when you extend the knee, I want you to tighten all the muscles from your knee to your hip, right? And an external focus would be, I have a ball, right? Or I have a target outside of your body. So when I tell you to extend your knee, I could say I want you to make your toes go as far up to where, make it using your toes to reach up towards the sky. So that means the more you push trying to make your toes reach, you're engaging and contracting the muscles. So that's just a simple example. Um, movement, an idea here for voluntary posture training is what we call the weighted skater's lunge with rotation. Why this is really, why I put this in here for fielding is, as a fielder, you're in that athletic posture, and then you have to move in either direction, right or left, right? And there's rotation in your trunk as you do that. So this movement trains all of those characteristics, so that's why it's there. Um, and similar similar ideas for feeling postures with in training the anticipatory posture as well as a reactive posture. Now we move on to speed training, and everybody, when they think speed, they think just running fast, but speed is actually in cricket, for example, as a batter, speed is actually being able to anticipate and predict quicker as to what the bowler is going to do, so that you can make the best choice in what stroke or what not to play or when to play. That's speed. As we would say, seeing it earlier, reacting faster, right? Again, in catching a ball is, again, the speed and where you're able to anticipate. So you see it earlier and you react sometimes later, because if you react too early to the catch, you may not be in a good position to catch the ball, right? So all of those things are part of when we're talking about speed, along with actually moving faster, running, etc. So because we talk about seeing it earlier, vision training is very important. And these are some of the characteristics of vision that are very important in sport and life, even. You know, these characteristics such as acuity, accommodation. Acuity, for example, is seeing clearly with both eyes. Stereopsis, stereopsis, vergence. Vergence, again, is being able to sharp focus with both eyes, right? Your target. Perception is being able to see the wider picture, all that's going on around you while you're focused, right? And you can see how these things are relevant to playing sport or playing cricket, as we're talking here about. Quiet eye training. This is a relatively new field in sport, but this work has been around for a while. Well, I mean a while. I mean somewhere in like 20-year area, close to that, because we have gotten the technology now that we can actually look at these things. And what that is pretty much training the skill to where you need to be focused, like whether you're fielding, batting, where your eyes should be focused. Like as a batter, for example, when the ball is running in, you want your eyes focused at various points for a split second, somewhere around 100 milliseconds, so you can predict better. Because batting is pretty much prediction, right? So you can predict better as to where this ball is going to land, and you play accordingly, right? Um, Same thing with whether the ball is hit in the air as a fielder, where where your eyes are supposed to be, training your eyes to be at these positions be regarded depending on the different parts of the field that you'll be fielding, so you can make the right play each time out. um, Next would be vestibular training. And vestibular training is training that system, that balance system. That's a layman's term. And these are some of the drills that ideas we use. Integrated VORs, that's a vestibular reflex. Integrated VORCs, that's another vestibular reflex. And integrated vestibular drills. Again, these are all training your reflexes, so that you, like, I'll give you an example. A guy running to catch a ball over his shoulder, has to rotate his head, right? And now if his his VOR reflexes are not up to par, or VORC are not up to par, he or she would lose balance. Just a miniature amount of balance, because their brain doesn't really know exactly where their head is in space because of the downregulation of those reflexes. So there are times when players would not catch a ball. It's not because it's poor catching technique. Is that maybe their vestibular system is not working as it should when they move their head in certain positions, as would happen when you're batting or when you're bowling, because we often talk about keeping your head still as a batter. So these kinds of these speed training would be related to batters also, as you would see. Um, Now we talk about voluntary posture training for speed training, and when we're talking about again loaded dynamic joint mobility for sports throwing primitives. So you're getting yourself into that position that you're supposed to throw, and training that with a loaded with bands, so you have the requisite strength in that in those positions to execute a throw accurately and strong over and over. Um, Sprint drills, speed drills, sprint prep and conditioning drills, acceleration and deceleration drills, cutting drills, change of direction drills, stand drills. That means when you're in a standing athletic posture, and start drills when you move off from that standing athletic posture, right? So you see where all of these have relevance in all facets of cricket, whether you're fielding, whether you're batting, and when you're bowling. Um, Again, the same similar ideas for training the anticipatory posture and reactive posture, as we discussed in earlier parts of the presentation, for training those postures as it relates to speed training. Now we move on to the final part, which is stamina and spirit training. And I just want to um, just give definition of what we mean by spirit. We're talking about the mental parts of the sport, that development, that mental toughness, that resilience, um, when you play sport, which is really important, right? And how you would do that, you would do it in your training, where you have to push through what we might say pain tolerance. We're not talking pain in the pain of hurt, of actual injury pain. We're talking about that pain, that burning pain that people like to quit, and those kinds of things. Losing focus when they might be bored, being able to stay focused regardless, right, of your situation. So in cardiovascular efficiency testing, these are some ideas of tests that one could use: the yo-yo intermittent test, sprint testing, where you run up and down a couple times and you see what time the person does. 2K run to also test their aerobic capacity. Um, Anaerobic and aerobic training, and just to make a point here, there's no real separation between these energy systems. We just teach them and try to train them as such. But these systems are interdependent and they work together. They're on at all times. So even when somebody is sprinting for under 10 seconds, their aerobic system plays a huge role in them being able to recover from that effort, or doing an explosive action. The aerobic system is playing a vital role in the replenishment of the fuel that is used in the anaerobic zone. So, although cricket is an intermittent sport, one's aerobic capacity must be of a high capacity for them to be able to do these actions over and over the long period of time, depending on the cricket format you're playing. You got 3 hours when you're playing the 2020, you got 6 hours with the 50 overs, and then you got 5 days, 6 hours a day with the 5 day test matches. So your aerobic capacity is really important, right? Um, these are some of the ideas for aerobic training. Um, Respiratory muscle awareness mapping. Breathing is a muscular activity, and there are muscles that are engaged in inhalation and muscles engaged in exhalation. The more efficient and those muscles are in functioning, the better your respiratory capacity would be. Moving on to the IMT, EMT, that is the actual IMT stands for inhalation muscle training, and EMT is exhalation muscle training. So this is strength training for your inhalation, exhalation muscles. There's a reflex called a metabolic reflex. This is a reflex that comes on when your respiratory muscles are depleted, and your brain would put a halt on extremity movement. So that's where they're fatigued. Your brain would shut you down. You can't go more, to get the blood flow from your extremities into your respiratory muscles so that you can function, your respiration can function better again. Again, one of the crazy things, or the interesting things one should understand about the brain is not there for high performance. So when we are training people for high performance, we're actually trying to hack and bypass some of the actions of the brain, because the brain's job is for us to survive and for us to move, not high performance, right? So that is how one area way we can hack that, in that the stronger you get those respiratory muscles, the longer the onset would be for the metabolic reflex to come into play, which means automatically from strengthening those muscles, your stamina, your aerobic capacity would have improved. And there's tons of research out there showing that kind of stuff. Position specific training, being in different positions that you would be out on the field, and having the capacity to be in those positions and develop that muscle endurance in those positions is why that's what the idea of that. Air hunger drills, that's where, that's another tool that is really great for enhancing aerobic endurance, where you would do certain things, movement patterns, while holding your breath, right? And then you would breathe again for a short period of time, and then you do it again. And you could see how that relates to playing cricket. Say a fast bowler runs in and bowl. That fast bowler has to be able to recover by the time they walk back to their mark to bowl again, or a batter swinging the ball and running 1-2 runs, has to recover in a short space of time to be effective to face the next ball, right? Brain endurance training. This is something that's been around for the last several years. Really important work that has been done with this, and has been shown with brain endurance training. You enhance the endurance of your brain, also enhances your physiological endurance. And what is great, because we all know in the proverbial fourth quarter, or the waning moments of a game, where execution is at a high priority for, that's going to be the dependency of winning and losing, where players are fatigued, and the fatigue causes them to lose focus and not make the right choices, and it can be the difference between winning and losing. That's why brain endurance training is really important, because you enhance your brain endurance. You will be more, you will still be able, you'll be able to focus in the fatigue state as sharp as you did in a non-fatigue state, when doing brain endurance training. So that's a really great tool to add for aerobic training. There and these are other tools here: the cardio output method, tempo intervals, high resistant intervals, aerobic plyometrics, threshold training, cardiac power intervals, tempo based training. All of these enhance aerobic capacity, whether it's local muscular endurance or so. So you want to have a well versed aerobic system, aerobic capacity in playing cricket. Anaerobic training. Why that's important? Because cricket is a sport of short, intermittent actions. So these are a couple of tools that ideas we use. Alactic intervals, explosive repeat method to enhance that capacity to do intermittent explosive actions over and over. Um, this is where the spirit I was talking about earlier comes in. Pain control drills, muscular, the burn, the ache. So you use things like isometric long holds. You imagine being in a lunge position for 3 minutes and that your legs are burning, but you got to push through. You ain't gonna get hurt. It's just that burn, that aching and being to push through. That develops mental toughness, resilience, super slow movements. Then you have mental skill to develop that mental staying focused. Not overcoming boredom, desire to quit, losing focus. High repetition, lightly loaded dynamic joint mobility drills. So we put you in varying positions that you would be in a cricket field, and you got to do those repetitions at a high amount, maybe 100, 200 repetitions, what have you, in those positions that if you don't stay focused, you ain't gonna be able to do it and overcome that desire to quit, overcoming boredom, so that you always focus when you're out there, developing those mental skills necessary. And then finally, recovery training, very important. You have to be able to recover from all kinds of training, right? And so we have a few. I've put a few things here. There are more, but just to give a few ideas, this is something we call autogenic drills, right? Teach you the capacity to relax and so on. Progressive muscle relaxation, something in a similar vein, and then a bunch of different recovery tools, some of which most would be would have knowledge about, and there are others. But I just wanted to give those ideas, and I hope this would have given you a good understanding of how one can condition a cricket athlete, looking at that conditioning process in the context of one, the athletic development model, as well as through a neural lens using applied neurology and movement conditioning tools to enhance that athlete's conditioning, so they will be able to execute their skills at a high level consistently. So if you want to have no more information or want to work with me or so on, you can DM me, or you can email me or call me. My email is will be put in the link. My email is, I just say it out loud, is Basil Butcher at fit, FITP, the number two, the letter O.com, or my number is 917-415-6800. I hope this was instructional, and I look forward to sharing more and hearing your comments about this presentation that I had put on here today. Until the next time, have a great day.